Magazine subscriptions. This happened about 15 years ago when the internet and e-com were still young. I had this supervisor who was a real douchebag. Once he asked me to help him out at the last minute and take a particularly shitty shift, and I did because I was a team player. The anticipated business level did not materialize, so I left at my scheduled time. To be clear, I did not leave early and abandon my colleagues. I left at the end of the shift. I did not stay late. Couple of days later, douchebag schedules a meeting with me, and when I arrive, I see the two owners are there as well. DB starts calling me out, accusing me of abandoning my colleagues and falsifying the timesheet. I ask him if he is on crack. He keeps berating me and questioning my commitment and loyalty. The two owners sit in stunned silence but don't defend me. I was employee number 2. He was number or something like that, so eventually I said I had enough and got up and went home. He sent me an email later that day saying I was suspended for 3 days, so don't come into the office tomorrow. I ignored that too. The next morning when I got in, he was surprised to see me and told me to go home. I basically told him to go fuck himself. I no longer recognized him as my supervisor. My pay never got docked either. Office tensions were high after that, but I just went about my business like he wasn't there. He continued to be a douchebag, but I just bided my time. I am very patient. About a year later, I noticed his T4 envelope on his desk. No one was around, so I palmed it, and that gave me his home address and social insurance number. Also learned I made about triple his salary, made me feel good. His house was only a short side trip for me on my way home, so I would leave early, go to his house and intercept his mail. I would take it home, steam it open, scan it, and seal it back up. Next day I would swing by and put it back in his mailbox. It took about 3 months, but I eventually got 2 credit card statements, and I was able to determine he got his CC statements around the 10th of the month, got his utility bills too, and a letter from social services notifying him he was going to get his wages garnished for non-payment of child support. Once a douchebag, always a douchebag. I had been putting together a list of URLs for the most vile and disgusting porno websites hawking magazine subscriptions, featuring topics such as bestiality, golden showers, and scat, among many others. Readers, I am not judging. I spent a Saturday night mid-month with a bottle of rum, subscribing him to every magazine, both print and online, that I could find. In those days, there was very little credit card security. If you had the full card number and billing postal code, you were in. There were no CVV or PIN numbers. I knew he wouldn't see his statements for over 3 weeks. The following Monday, I canceled his utilities, telling them I was going abroad for an extended period and wanted to suspend the services. I made it a point to be exceptionally rude to the utility companies, so the account would be flagged, hopefully as douchebag. Also got his vehicle registration reminder and vehicle insurance renewal, both of which I did not return. To DB's credit, he never said a word, that I heard in the office about the shit going down in his personal life, but I knew he was suffering, and that was good enough for me. About 6 months later, on a whim, one night after a few cocktails, I tried signing him up for more stuff, and was surprised to find both his credit cards still worked. He hadn't closed the cards. I signed him up for a bunch more magazines, but made the mailing address the office. Signed him up for a number of online porn sites, and used his work email. That got people's attention, and not long after DB was no more. I win. Dressed overly casual at a designer store so that the rude sales rep wouldn't get commission. I don't typically buy a lot of designer clothing, but when I do go shopping, I dress pretty casually. Last week I was strolling through the mall, and there was designer backpack on display that caught my attention. I went inside the store, wearing a hoodie and ripped jeans, and went to inquire about the price of the backpack. I waited around for 10 minutes for someone to help me until I decided to go up to one of the sales representatives myself. She told me to wait because she was helping another customer, so I sat down and waited. I saw her in the corner of the store just standing, not doing anything. I decided to wait another 5 minutes for her to come back, but she never did. I walked back up to her and told her I wanted to inquire about the backpack. I asked her if she could bring one from the back room so I could take a closer look at it. She told me that she wouldn't be able to do that unless I was planning on purchasing the item. She seemed annoyed with my request. Before I could say anything else, she quickly walked away to help another customer. I'm quite young, 25 years old, and I could tell she didn't think I was serious about purchasing it and didn't want to waste her time. I would have actually purchased it then and there if she hadn't been so dismissive. A few days later, I went back into the store. This time I made sure to dress even more casually than before. I walked in with a pair of sweatpants, running shoes, a tank top, and zip-up. The same lady was working that day and turned her back to me soon as I walked in. I went up to one of the other sales representatives. This guy was younger, smiling, and seemed eager to help. And I told him I wanted to purchase the backpack, and he gladly went inside and got for me. He even asked if I'd like to take a look at it before buying. I thanked him, and he checked me out. The store manager was also by the cashier, and I let him know that I came in last week and that the lady wouldn't let me see the product before purchasing it. He was upset to hear this and told me this wasn't the first time he had received a complaint about her. The item was a few grand, and all the commission went towards the junior. He was so kind and grateful. She avoided eye contact with me after she got told off by her manager, and I smiled at her as I walked out of the store. Don't judge a book by its cover. My boyfriend looked up spoilers to our favorite video game, so I did too. My boyfriend and I play Zelda, Breath of the Wild together. I am a take your time and enjoy the ride kind of gal, while he is a let's look up how to beat this game right now kind of guy. Because his way ruins all the fun, we came up with a rule. No looking up spoilers. We were looking for a particular challenge, the 8 heroine side quest for my fellow Zelda nerds, for a very long time. Suddenly my boyfriend said, I did something bad. I looked up where to go. I'm so sorry. I just couldn't take it anymore. I told him it was fine, but that he could not tell me what he had seen. He agreed. I then excused myself to the bathroom and looked up the location as well. I then spent the next hour and a half wandering so close to the location without ever making it there. I could see him squirming around in his seat every time I got close. When I jumped off the cliff the statue was built into, gliding down to the base of the statue and continuing on without turning around to look at it, I thought he was going to explode. He was clenching his hair in both fists and biting his lower lip, trying to contain himself. That's when I caved and told him what I had done. He thought it was hilarious and told me about how he wanted more than anything to yell, "Turn around! What are you doing?" We had a good laugh about it. He hasn't looked up a spoiler since.